Everybody with us, welcome and thank you very much indeed, sincerely, for joining another Advertising Matters Views from the Front Line. They're every fortnight now, and we'll keep going as long as you keep watching. Outdoor or out of home OOH, we haven't touched yet, so we're delighted that Geoff Lyons is with us. And of course, TV is changing too, so we have the great Ian Byrne from Virgin Media Television. I would also like to say that we are running a bigger, better one-day, full-day Zoom, the big Zoom, September the 9th at €85. So again, just keep that in your diary. That's my ad, and we will be in touch about it. Sponsorship is available for that. Indeed, participation, if you need to make participation or you want to get involved in it, just let us know if you're interested in that. We'll plough on happily, thanks to the core attendees who attend every week, and there's 67 registered today, so holidays probably got a little bit in the middle of that. But let me just run and rattle through some housekeeping very briefly for 2 minutes, because I know I'm always asked this and everybody gets fed up listening to it, but we are recording simply, you'll see it in the top left-hand side of your screen. We're only recording what you see on screen. We're not recording you. We can't see you doing the ironing. We can't see the dog. We can't see you sitting on the couch. So don't worry about that. We can only recording us. And if you're looking for a copy of the recording, which an awful lot of people do, and I'm surprised that the recording is watched more often than the program itself, you'll find it on my LinkedIn page and indeed on YouTube, probably about 5 p.m. this evening, something like that. So we can't see you, so you can relax, watch, listen, and hopefully you'll find it useful. Poll you at the end. We have actually a different poll this week, 2 different questions, and both are anonymous, so we get to that at the end. But we appreciate your feedback, and we appreciate your attendance and your reaction to the poll, which is always strong, so thank you. I'm Stuart Fogarty of Admatic Ad Tech, Streamabout the video agency, and AFAO'Meara Advertising. My job is purely and simply to try and keep the conversation going and to moderate the discussion rather than necessarily to become involved in it. It's appreciated that you're here. It'll be over in 1 hour, so we're starting a little bit past 1 o'clock, so we'll end up a little bit past 2 o'clock. And again, I can't escape from the advertising jungle here in our offices. There is no escape. Joining us again is the fabulous Siobhan O'Connell of Business Plus magazine and indeed bizplus.ie, live from somewhere. But Siobhan, new magazine out this week, last week?
Last week, yes, our August issue is out, and now we're working on our September issue. So just stay on the roundabout, Stuart. That's my motto.
Great. Well, go out, always, as I always say, go out and buy a copy. If you want to support Irish media and you want to support Irish advertising, buy a copy of Business Plus and try and sell it out. We have John McGee, as usual, Jack to his friends of IMJ AdWorld, who have supported with Siobhan these sessions from the very, very start. They simply wouldn't happen without the pair of them. John McGee, or Jack, to the people who really know him, is the CEO of Irish Marketing Journal, also the fab adworld.ie, which people seek out in the ad business every Friday. And also, obviously, he writes a marketing and media column for the Sunday Independent every Sunday too. Really advertising royalty. So Jack and Siobhan will contribute as we go along. So the great Ian Byrne is the Director for Digital and Commercial Enterprises at Virgin Media Television under the new guidance of Paul Farrell, post Pat Kiley, who we had on this Zoom a couple of weeks back, Ian. Ian was formerly the consultant for TV3 on addressable TV AdSmart, which is kind of changing everything, and we hope to hear a little bit about that. And I knew him back when he was the MD at Independent Digital, so welcome, Ian. Geoff Lyons is the Managing Director at Poster Management Limited, or PML as we all know, going back to Jerry's days and indeed Jimmy Cashin. Also indeed a former independent staffer when he was Group Marketing Director and Commercial Director for something like 18 years plus. So we have the Indo here in force. So firstly, Ian, how's things going on at Virgin Media Television during the lockdown and indeed post Pat Kiley?
Yeah, thanks, Stuart, and thank you everybody for just the opportunity to talk to you this afternoon. Look, at the moment, thankfully, we are emerging strongly from what was a very, very difficult Q2. And I think, you know, we're certainly seeing a lot more activity now back in the marketplace, a lot more investment actually coming back into the marketplace. And for us, August coming into the end of Q3 and into Q4, we've got a lot of activity actually planned. I must say, like everybody else, at the start of COVID-19 in March, our first priority was to look after our people and to make sure that they were able to actually operate from home as quickly as possible. Big shout out to our tech team there who got our teams turned around and out and working remotely in about 2 days, which was fantastic. After that, during COVID-19, it was really about managing a skeleton staff at our studios. We stepped up all our news and current affairs coverage, And of course, we also delivered some significant coverage for COVID-19 in particular, and actually got recognised as the #2 trusted source by a government HSE report. So a lot of good things to be proud of during what was a pretty severe issue and crisis for us to manage in Q2. A couple of things that I'm very proud of during the process. First of all, our people, in terms of their commitment and dedication to actually serving our clients and advertisers and solving what were difficult issues at the time, managing new campaigns, new creative, etc. Also very proud of the fact that LG, as our overall corporate owner, did a lot of great things to actually help and support their people throughout the crisis in all the markets we actually operate in. And to the extent that even some of the key execs, or most of the key execs, actually contributed personal funds to actually assist employees who were in distress during COVID-19, which I thought was a really good example of how our business actually looks after its people and how the executives actually think about its people. And then the other thing I'm really proud of is the fact that as a business, we actually decided to go it alone, that we wouldn't actually take part or facilitate or subscribe to a wage subsidy scheme provided by the government, that we'd actually stand on our own wits and actually work out how to manage our way through this crisis as best we could, because we felt there were some more deserving businesses and causes out there that needed that sort of investment and support more than actually we did during the crisis. I think the only other thing to mention is that we also stepped up a backing business campaign, and that was all about supporting SMEs in particular to boost their recovery post COVID-19 and to try and actually give them some exposure and to deliver the power of TV advertising to some of those small businesses. And across the country, we've supported at least 200 SMEs. We've given them exposure on some of our daytime programs, and we've actually been down and exposed them to some free TV advertising, and we've got some great testimonials back during Q2. So all told, very difficult Q2, but feeling very positive and emerging strongly now into Q3 and looking at a very strong back end of the year.
That's extraordinary. I didn't know that about not partaking in the government scheme, which is an extraordinary thing to do in the first instance. But also when you saw audiences going through the roof, and the advertising money for once didn't follow audiences because it wasn't out there. So you probably hope that those audiences will stick, because it's a bit of sampling as well as everything else. Is that right?
Yeah, so certainly our fantastic coverage on news and current affairs, as I said, and yes, there was a lot more people watching a lot more TV during the period, and now it is a case of actually holding on to them. There were some other viewing occasions that happened with some of the other services on our player as well, but we have actually suffered. There hasn't been we haven't been immune to some of the challenges, and for us in particular, some of our key soaps have not been played out because we couldn't actually record them. Love Island, which was such a monstrous hit for us last year, same time last year during June and July, has not happened this year. So we've definitely suffered from some of those sort of big hits.
Yes, but your soaps are coming back, aren't they? And so is football, and so is rugby, and so there's things to look forward to, which will also help give you a boost, I would think.
Oh, look, absolutely. And as we go into move into Q3, we have our festival of football on at the moment, which is the closing out of Champions League and Europa finals over the next couple of weeks, and then we start up that campaign again. And we have our new season launch that will be launched at the end of this month on the 26th of August, which talks about some of the old favourites coming back, like Ireland's Gogglebox, some new dramas called The Deceived, and later on in the year, I'm a Celebrity, and Britain's Got Talent finals, etc., etc. So it's a big lineup that we're setting up for the back end.
And Love Island Australia, is that right?
Well, Love Island Australia, I'm not sure when that's actually happening, but for us, we had Love Island happened in January, February this year, and that was a winter Love Island. That won't be happening in January, February next year. It'll revert back to a big summer impact. But I'm a Celebrity happens November, December, and this year, rather than actually I'm a Celebrity being run in the jungle in Australia, it'll be run in Wales, somewhere in Wales. We're waiting for more details on that. So that sounds interesting.
Well, bang goes my application for Love Island Australia. So Geoff, how are things going? The same kind of a question, how do things get on during the pandemic and still going on, but how are things happening with outdoor? Indeed, there was a big surge in in viewership, I would think, and audiences during lockdown. But how did PML cope with all of that and contractors?
So, I mean, look, it's been I think a half of two halves, and it's going to be a year of 4 quarters. And as much like Ian said, kind of Q1 for us, outdoor, I guess, over the last 5 years has been on a reasonably good trajectory with, incremental growth year on year, which has benefited the industry by way of investment in plant, I guess. Q1 strong versus 2019, which was an incredible year. Then March hit, and I think a very practical experience happened in the industry insofar as, given the restrictions on working, bill posters couldn't post literally for that period of time. So that had a big impact on what we call our classic inventory, which meant that there was a very, very harsh, I guess, 8-week period for the business, notwithstanding the change in audience behavior. So that was hard. That said, given the investment that's gone into the industry, there is an incredible amount of digital plant. About 15% of our inventory now is digital, which is quite strong, and it's particularly centered around retail. So as restrictions eased very early, we found very quickly, using our audience data, that the market was becoming more hyper-local, and obviously shopping missions had to happen, which meant that brands latched onto that very quickly. And I know the word pivoted is overused, but there was a lot of movement towards those digital screens at retail, which kept the market in, albeit a fairly harsh state in Q2, it kept the medium going through that period of time. Transit obviously hit, airports obviously hit, cinema obviously hit with that period as a result of lockdown. So in terms of coping with that, I guess we moved very quickly once Leo spoke on March 12th, and much like Ian has just said, focus people as the first focus on our clients. So that was the immediate focus of how we would get our business moving. And thankfully, the snow which we had last year and a bit of work we did here in the office meant all of our DRS systems were very well tested. We're all on, our tech is very good in terms of our systems, meaning that was relatively, thankfully, very seamless for our people to work from home immediately. For our clients, communication has been brilliant, really thorough, and I think the questioning is way more involved now in terms of the conversations. You're talking about logistics, stock, where people are, time of day. So that's really brought to fore our expertise, I guess, in understanding physical behaviour. How we've done that is through our now near next strategic planning. John, I'm going to call you Jack from now on, John, because I feel I'm your friend.
His two friends do.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe I'm the third. But that allowed us really think about how audiences were behaving, and very, very quickly you could see that hyperlocal activity was happening as restrictions were eased. So from the 5K restriction to the 20K to the county, outside the county, that was hugely helpful for the medium, and brands very quickly adopted in that regard. So Q2 very tricky for us. Into the summer, it's certainly picked up. And outdoor is a very well planned medium, as you know. So what that has meant is that just from, I would say, about the point of mid-May into the more meaningful conversations is the way that I would put it in terms of briefs. And because of that planning nature, it's probably more akin to the way in which TV is booked as well. So a lot healthier conversations, and you'd only need to go outside to see what's in, what we call is in charge, or what's up right now. A vast array of industries are across the medium now, from the finance sector, the retail sector, FMCG sector, the QSR sector. And I think what's really stand out for me is that as our behavior has changed, we're more deliberate in our actions. In other words, for example, shopping. We're making a lot more shopping lists. Our shopping missions are a bit more practical. Therefore, the job brands need to do is get that mental availability, infect the shopping list before the shop, if that makes sense. And you'll see that a lot of FMCG brands are now doing that. Online brands, and just talking on the TV piece, very quick to move was Disney Plus to understand the need state. So they pummeled what they could pummel literally in that lockdown period to drive subscriptions. So quite a behavioural change. There's an array of examples of how brands pivoted, I should say, and used outdoor to that avail. But hopefully now we are seeing a certain pickup in the summer, confident about Q4, given the conversations. but real about it. 2020 is going to be a tricky year, all told, and really grateful for the investment in digital that has allowed the media to be so much more flexible than it's ever been before.
Just two things. I suppose the recent IAPI survey said that they expect the market to be down at the end of the year combined at about 25%. So does that sit with you? And the second question then is outdoor stock increasing, expanding, or decreasing?
So in terms of the full market prediction for outdoor within the market, I think outdoor will be a bit more worse impacted than 25%. So I would think we would be somewhere more 30, 35 is my view of it.
Okay.
In terms of the total market. I think that's more real. I would think, given that, you know, you can discount 25% immediately, given what I was saying to you about the 25, the bill posting, etc. So that's obviously had an impact. In terms of stock, what's happened is a lot of the existing classic industry have been greatly improved. So the sites that you're seeing now, backlit units, the quality is unbelievable at the moment. Even the bus shelter network, in terms of the illumination standout. Digital has seen a real explosion over the last 5 years. It's gone from like 2-3% up to 15% of stock. It's driving about 25-30% of the revenue, which just sort of demonstrates what it's doing. Do I think that will continue to grow? I think its pace will probably slow, just given there'll be probably a cautious approach to inventory expansion. That said, the inventory available in the country right now is second to none. I mean, it really is top drawer in terms of what's out there for advertisers right now.
Excellent. Okay, well, just turning to that point, which is fantastic the way I link all this stuff together. COVID has brought a surge of businesses onto digital, and indeed with remote buying now continuing in lockdown. So has advertising, is the first question, been up to that digital revolution? And can I turn to you, Ian, first, particularly to get an understanding for people that mightn't about addressable TV and indeed about AdSmart and how that what it is and how it works. Don't mean Ladybird book stuff, because we've a fairly sophisticated audience, that said, but just to try and explain that, because that's a real game changer. And I think fairly unique to you, because you need to have a digital platform, but maybe if you'd explain it.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's AdSmart is a great example of really good industry collaboration by two key players in it, and in our instance, it has been a strategic cooperation with Sky and Virgin Media in the UK and here in Ireland. And you mentioned my time previously in the UK. That was actually negotiating and setting up this deal with some key people in Sky at the time. And that system in the UK actually went live in July 2019 and has been running successfully for the last 12 months. And essentially the system now has access to almost half of the population in the UK, it's about 30 million adults, and has been that's of course the linear and the VOD platforms in the UK for Sky and Sky channels on the Virgin Media platform as part of that ecosystem as well. So essentially what AdSmart is, or addressable advertising, is from a linear capacity, example, is we can deliver in an advert into a certain home with a certain set of attributes or demographics, and at the same time deliver something, a different advert, into another home in exactly the same time. It's a very complicated and complex tech infrastructure that can actually do that. Lots of stakeholders to do it, so it has been a long development process. But essentially, if we have a home that has young children, we deliver a Pampers ad into that home. And we have another home and exactly the same ad break, exactly the same ad. We insert an ad in a different household with a retired couple for cruises down the Danube or something, and that's all happening seamlessly at the same time into those different homes. So, so for us, there's probably three things that that we're trying to drive out with that. Number one, it's to make TV advertising more accessible by more businesses, by more smaller advertisers who don't necessarily want to buy a national reach campaign. Secondly, it's, and this is probably the primary point, is about delivering relevant advertising into homes to make sure audiences are actually engaging with the advertising because they are relevant to them. And thirdly, for national campaigns, there are certain niche audiences that you actually want to target. And one of the classic examples in the UK is high net worth individuals who are targeted by this system for McLaren racing cars or McLaren M1 cars at one point in the UK. So it's about being able to carve out niche audiences and using data and to actually do that in a seamless way with the system that can actually deliver the advertising into homes that you actually want to target.
And what exactly as it does is it brings television into a more mass market, into a more affordable advertiser market, as well as delivering the right audience, the right people, and the right ad to the right people at the right time. It's a fantastic innovation.
Yes, and look, for us, I think it has been, AdSmart has been available in this market through Sky, on the Sky network for the last, I think, 2 years.
Yes, Sky Smart.
Correct. And we will now participate in that. So for us, there's the rollout process will happen in 3 phases. And the first phase is that the Virgin Media TV channels will be enabled for this, for AdSmart on the Sky set-top box infrastructure. And that's our phase 1. That'll happen later on this year. We're about to enter into a live testing phase because we just need to make sure that all of the timings for frame accurate adverts being inserted needs to work properly before, so that has absolutely no impact on consumers or viewers. And that is, we're in the late stage of just stepping into that now in the next month or 2. And over the course of 2021, we'll be switching on the Virgin Media set-top box infrastructure and footprint here in Ireland. And then later in the year, we'll actually be switching on the Sky channels on the Virgin Media footprint. So by about this time next year, AdSmart will actually cover the vast bulk of homes, and certainly the Virgin Media and the Sky subscriber homes across the country.
Yeah. There is a kind of a date of a launch of AdSmart at the end of August, am I right? A sort of a kind of a date.
Well, sort of a kind of a date. It is. We step into our test and learn phase then, and once we step into that, there will be some activity, but it will be below the line activity where we're just trying to test out the system to make sure it works under every circumstance of how we actually deliver into the certain homes and things. So commercially, it'll be later on in Q4.
Okay, Geoff, innovation in outdoor, digital outdoor, which you did touch on there, but you said it was kind of growing and then it maybe plateaued a bit, but.
Yeah, I mean, so there's 20,000 odd panels across the country, of which circa 3,000 are digital, all in different environments. I think the key difference between what Ian described and outdoor is a one-to-many medium as opposed to a one-to-one medium, just the way in which it operates. That said, with regards to digital networks, they're all within different environments. So retail, malls, transit, gyms, and now, very importantly, roadside digital. You're seeing the screens that have been around the country, digital bus shelters, etc. So what we do is we have a product called Live Poster. And what Live Poster does is focus into all of them at scale. And what that allows us to do is deliver what we would call event-based impacts. So event-based impacts would be fueled by a multitude of data sets. So it could be weather data, it could be time of day party, it could be the result of a game, it could be sales within a store, it could be the timetables of trains, flights coming in, the pollen count, for example. So to give you a very real example of that, Bank of Ireland were just in charge with the Dynamic Field campaign. Most campaigns for us would be digital and classic because of the job outdoor does, that reach frequency. But the digital element allows the campaign to be more relevant to the area in which it's served. So recently the mortgage campaign took the average house price within an area and where the advertising was served digitally displayed that. And the beauty with the Live Poster product is it creatively, it works with the creative agencies. It ingests all of the fonts, the creative pieces, meaning you don't need multiples of thousands of pieces of copy. It does it dynamically, which is a really, really great bit of kit. And it's allowing advertisers serve where they're serving digitally more relevant. So another very, very good example, real example is Rockshore right now. Serve lager, and once the temperature peaks 15 degrees, whatever, they'll serve Rockshore cider, etc. So that's been a real game changer in terms of what we're able to do. That said, we've just launched a piece of research called The Moments of Truth, which shows the impact of that dynamically served advertising. It increases on all levels in terms of the impact, but still less than 5% of campaigns would be activated in that way. So it's a constant education. I think that it's digital has so much promise in outdoor, relatively at its infant stages, but there's been huge upsurges, particularly in the quality of screens literally out in the nation now. And now it's about really electrifying them creatively. There's been brilliant work done to date. I've just mentioned a couple. I could keep going on if you want me to about other example and use cases. But most recently, I mean, back to the point on when COVID, Paddy Power used it brilliantly to show what 2 meters meant by using Peter Crouch. I just thought it was very, very smart and clever as their ambassador to show what 2 meters really means. So look, incredible use cases of it, but digital outdoor has huge amounts and infinite offers for clients now. And we're kind of just touching we're nowhere near the tip of that iceberg, put it that way.
You know, it really has to, Geoff. I think maybe the problem, and I mean this with affection, of outdoor is you have to plan it 2 weeks in advance, get the poster printed and put it up. With digital, you can change the message. I mean, presumably, ultimately, by the hour. So if the sun is shining, Tesco can stick an ad for ice cream outside the Dundrum shopping centre.
Yes, so
stick an ad up for umbrellas.
Yeah, so we do that right now. So McDonald's, another very good example, serve breakfast in the morning, milkshakes when it's hot, coffee in the morning, Big Mac in the afternoon.
But that's what I'm saying. At 5%, that can only explode.
Absolutely. Great opportunity for it. But in fairness, credit to all of the media owners that we work with. They've really invested in bloody great kit in around the country that's just changing the face of what outdoor, and it's able now to play in different levels of the marketing funnel. Yeah, we are a broadcast medium, no doubt about that, a one-to-many medium, but we can now really activate and move further down the channel, which is quite, to be honest, very exciting.
Siobhan, have you digital innovation in advertising?
Yes, well, we did. When in May, with our May issue, we introduced our replica digital edition of the magazine, which we had never done before.
That's right.
And that's gone very well for us. So we now have it circulated to something like 3,800 business executives across the country. And in tandem with that, which is interesting, is our newsstand sales have risen. So although there's a digital product now in the market, our newsstand sales have also risen. And also LinkedIn is performing very well for us now. So, you know, when we're placing content for clients in the magazine, on the replica digital edition, on the website, then sharing it to LinkedIn, we're getting a lot more engagement for that content now during lockdown and subsequently than we would have got before lockdown. So I think people are reading more, be it on whatever platform, and you just have to get the content to the platform that they're reading it on. So you can't, you know, be siloed anymore and just say, now we're just this or now we're just that. You have to be delivering your content across multiple platforms. Question that I have for both, for the two guys, I'm interested about the whole area of measurement, because I was just reading that Nielsen is planning to overhaul its digital measurement strategy, and they're preparing for a future without cookies or mobile IDs. And first phase is happening apparently early 2021. So maybe to Ian first, you know, when you look at traditional TV advertising and how advertisers would have measured their TVRs, etc., how is that going to combine with real-time digital measurement that is, you know, that clients and ad agencies look for? How will that work? How do you see that working?
Look, it's a really good question, and it's a question that has been bouncing around the industry for quite a while, and nobody's come up with an answer for it yet. I know for us that we are certainly seeing audiences and how they consume our content and everything else change considerably from not just free to air linear TV, but also on our player and on our TV Anywhere application, which is an application associated with our cable business. And we are actively monitoring and managing and working out what's going on behind the scenes and how audiences are actually shifting and consuming content across those platforms. So for example, Love Island, I think Love Island this time last year, we ended up with more streaming and engagement activity on our player than we actually did on our free-to-air channel.
Right.
So we are seeing that tipping point actually coming along. And what we're doing in the background is we are investing quite heavily in our own player, the Virgin Media TV player, in terms of back-end ability to manage content and to manage our advertising system as well. And so we've upgraded that this year. And our VOD delivery or video delivery platform was upgraded earlier on this year as well. So our next stage in terms of development there will be around our UI and UX and how we're trying to engage consumers with making it easier for them to get the content that they want to see when they want to see it. So it's in the same vein as some of the concepts that Geoff talked about from a digital perspective and outdoor. From a measurement perspective, nobody has cracked that nut. We know that digital media talks about the most measured media and what does a like mean versus a direct response initiative.
And how to package the audience then for the advertiser, the audience that has been delivered for the particular campaign.
Yes, yeah, and look, at the moment we're using slightly different metrics to do that, but we're actively doing research to actually work out how you actually do that in a more coherent way. Because once you have coherency, it'll actually come together very simply for everyone. But nobody's cracked that much yet.
And Geoff, from your perspective, when you look at the EU directive that's coming down the tracks and the reduction of cookies and no mobile IDs, how is that going to impact on how outdoor out of home is delivering its digital measurement to advertisers?
So first point is a very good point. We don't have a cookie in terms of the outdoor space. So the click is in your brain, it's in your mind when you see it. So that's what means the medium is a one-to-many medium as opposed to one-to-one. So that's a fundamental difference. So JNOR is the measurement in terms of Ireland, the currency of which we trade on. So every campaign we buy has JNOR scores that it must achieve, both on quality and quantity. Furthermore, every campaign we fully inspect. So unfortunately, outdoor can be victim to weather, can be victim to, so that's a full inspection service ensuring whatever was bought was fully done. Furthermore, we overlay, and particularly over the last couple of weeks, with our audience, general management of audience has utterly changed given COVID, I guess, over the last couple of months. So what's imperative is that we have overlay data sets. So Locomizer is a product that we would use to understand audience movement. That's how we would plan and buy, to see where audiences are and buy against it. So JNOR is the key message, or key measurement of the industry. In terms of how that evolves and how digital expands, there's a number of measurement tools enhanced on the equivalent of JNOR all around the globe. So in the UK, for example, they have a product called Root, which effectively is an enhanced JNOR. And I think in terms of as the market evolves here, as will the measurement tools, they're critical to the industry.
So in both sectors, we're going to see in the months and year ahead a total overhaul of how audiences for campaigns are delivered to the advertiser.
And I think consistency of that is going to be key, because I think there are too many people who are bamboozled by a certain measure that they think is delivering something to them that actually isn't. And certainly in the TV world, it's a legacy measurement system that has been consistent for years that actually helps us keep our heads above water. But digital certainly is got some work.
Does John McGee have a view?
Yeah, well, I think one of the common denominator in a lot of what has just been said is obviously digital. And I think one of the successes of the recent lockdown and the pandemic is digital, and for a lot of news organizations, media owners, whatever, they've had to kind of fast track a lot of their investment into digital. Perhaps some of this was already planned for 2021, 2022. I think I've certainly some of the news organizations, media owners that I've talked to over the last number of months, they've now fast that track. But in addition, and in parallel to this, they've also had to sort of look at their wider organization or companies, and you know, in terms of digital transformation. I mean, given that the whole prospect of that, you know, we could be effectively working from home for the next, you know, couple of years, or certainly we, you know, for the next, you know, 2 years, I think we, you know, 30-40% of companies or so should I say employees will be returning to the workplace. And if that is the case, well then it poses all kinds of challenges for organizations in terms of how not only do they deal with their staff but also their clients. But in terms of, you know, if you look around at, you know, what brands have done and achieved during lockdown, I mean, there's been recent statistics from I think Wolfgang Digital, which basically, you know, said that, you know, the pandemic and the lockdown has fast forwarded the e-commerce market in Ireland into 2024. You know, so those kind of trends will continue. I think, you know, there will be challenges in all of this for companies, and I think measurement is going to be one of the big ones. I mean, we're 5 years after the holy grail of cross-platform measurement was announced by IAPI, and we still have made no progress on that. I think, you know, if the industry is to survive and thrive, I think cross-platform measurement will be required, and that will obviously include TV, it'll include OOH, it'll include online and print as well. But so we need, you know, given that digital has been such a success during lockdown and will continue, and the pace of investment will continue to accelerate, I think now is the time that we should be looking at, you know, revisiting measurement in all of this, and whether that's with, you know, Kantar or Nielsen or all of the above, it doesn't really matter. But I think it's in the industry's interest that, you know, measurement becomes a key part of all of this. But in terms of innovation, I mean, yeah, you know, there's lots of it going on. Maybe look at, you know, all the news organizations have reported substantial increases in their digital subscriptions, and that's independent.ie, irishtimes.com. They're all way up. You know, our levels of engagement in online are up by 70-80% since February. You know, and we're close to launching 2 new websites that'll complement AdWorld. And, you know, I can't reveal too much about them now, but in a couple of weeks' time, you know, we will have a very comprehensive digital offering, whereas 60% of our business, you know, this time last year was print. By the end of this year, you know, probably 20% of it will be based around print. So, you know, it's a big sea change for us, but we've had to do it, and we're not the only organization that has done it. Everybody, you know, there's lots of consumer magazines, trade magazines, and B2C magazines that have dropped print and gone headlong into digital. And, you know, these trends will continue. Some will follow, some will drag their heels, some will have, you know, a hybrid version. You know, we won't be dropping print, but we'll be focusing very much on digital going forward, because that's where we see our future, but it's also where we see our target audiences.
Jonathan, it's about balance.
It's about a balance, yeah, absolutely. People will want print. People will always want print.
Yeah.
But where we're seeing the biggest growth for us, though, is in digital. So we have to be there to satisfy them.
We're looking at this whole COVID situation, and we've come through a very difficult Q2, but our mindset and everything else is all about the opportunity here for significant innovation. It's not about incremental innovation anymore in the industry or in the space that we're in. It's about radical innovation. It's about really thinking about how we need to operate and what will be a very different future than what we envisaged at the start of this year. And I think, you know, for us, we've certainly stepped into that space. New MD in the business as well, to actually really drive us hard, to actually make sure we're actually looking at all the things we need to look at to be a profitable, successful enterprise in the TV landscape that is changing considerably and has already started to transition in terms of audience engagement from linear to that digital anytime, anywhere, per device environment.
And so so the ecosystem, or Geoff, the ecosystem is changing. I mean, as Siobhan said earlier about her digital edition, which was out last month, which was excellent. And I know Jack has been publishing digital as well. So the whole ecosystem is changing. Advertising shouldn't be treated any differently. You know, it's still sold in a traditional way, but it's all about, that is a big change and a big shift now, isn't it?
Well, I think just Siobhan's pointing from an out-of-home's perspective, that we've brilliant digital inventory. The vast majority is classic at this point in time, and like with Ian, it's about growth and seeking, I guess, the opportunity. But I think it would be remiss of me not to say that the classic formats out, and also the creative potential that they deliver, is phenomenal. From T-sides, one of the highest recall formats, large format 48 sheets, 96 sheets. I mean, what they do creatively in their permanency, with regards to that approach if they've been up for a 2-week period as well. What digital does is allows the medium push further to be even more relevant, contextually relevant. So I think balance is where certainly out of home is right now, which is a good thing, and I think it only promises growth, which is, but that said, in terms of this COVID period that we've gone through, the digital investment that was made hitherto was brilliant in terms of what it was able to do, you know, for the industry.
Siobhan, do you have another view on that? Are you happy with that?
No, I just think the key thing is that, you know, we don't all get swept away on a total tide of the whole world is going to be digital only forever and ever. I keep coming back to this word balance. I mean, people will want to see a traditional T-side, you know, as they're walking down, and it catches their attention. They want to look at a program in real time on Virgin, you know, tonight when they go home at 8:30, and they want to sit down on their sofa with a cup of tea and watch it, and they'll see the ads in between it, and that will give them enormous enjoyment, you know, and pleasure. So, you know, as I said, I think it's just about balance. It's creating the same content you've always created. You're delivering it across a number of different platforms, as opposed to just one platform. And therefore, you're giving your advertiser more value, but you're also you're not getting rid of one other medium, which would have worked very well in the past, has worked very well, will continue to work well in tandem, working together with the other new mediums that have coming to the fore.
That's a key point for me, because what we believe here is about real world marketing, but sophisticated mass marketing, and that means there is a multitude of touch points of which how consumers live their lives. They don't live on Instagram non-stop. They will look at it as part of their day, and they will look at addressable TV as part of their day. They will pick up your magazine in store. 75% of those surveyed are intending on doing their shopping in store. Can you believe it? Of course they are. That's just going to be the fact. So we get involved as well in a lot of experiential activations, which certainly have been challenged in terms of the human touch, that experience over the last time. But they're just going to happen differently. Virtual experiences, very safe, clean experiences, masked experiences. They will happen. It's already happening. So I would be inclined to have that sort of holistic view of the world, that digital is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. It promises so much. So do other mediums. So does your magazine, as you said earlier on, TV. I think that balance is incredibly important, and it's what's real. Everyone lives their lives differently. Let's face it, in terms of their lifestyle choices, what they do with their weekend, what they do during the week, etc. And from brands' perspective, that always on, and then you can talk about attribution modeling. I mean, bloody hell, where do you start with that? What made you purchase your latest hair product? So many factors, as opposed to, I don't know. Anyway, don't get me started.
Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just at 10 to 2. So look, what I wouldn't mind doing, while I'm going to share a poll now, which is anonymous, which has 2 questions. One is about the future of advertising, and one's about working from home, so people can complete that. But while I'm doing it, just if I can go around the table, I'll start with John actually, and just give us a kind of a view as to where we are and where we're going, and also any words of wisdom or any encouragement that you can give as you're seeing the market transfer into Q4.
But
So
there's a
Jack,
lot more. There's a lot more confidence out there at the moment, I think. And I was talking to, just before this webinar started, I was talking to a number of agency CEOs, and okay, notwithstanding that there's a lot of people in the industry on holidays in August, and I think the plan was to get as many people to take their holidays in August as possible, because everybody is anticipating, you know, that from September 1, listen guys, we're seriously back in business. We need to get our game face on for the rest of the year. And, you know, so that's the plan. So there is a very quiet optimism that Q4 is definitely what most people are focused on. And obviously beyond, there's a number of factors at play. A lot of brands are, you know, most brands I think are probably back in the market, both, you know, across print, TV, out of home, and obviously digital. But I mean, there's a few campaigns, big campaigns coming up now over the next couple of months. There's a bit of activity going on in terms of pitching. There's ads actually in production at the moment. So all of this, I think, is a good sign. After the first 6 months of the year that we've had, it's heartening to see that. And but I mean, realistically, you know, let's just get to the end of 2020. I think that's what everybody wants to do. And you know, I was talking to one agency person there yesterday, and you know, they're already kind of in planning mode with some clients for 2021, which is a good thing. So, you know, as I said, yeah, January 1st, 2021 can't come any quicker, but, you know, we've also got to be mindful of the fact that, you know, COVID-19 is still going to be with us, and we've just got to find new ways of working with it and working around it, and, you know, be mindful of, you know, the impact that it does and that will continue to have on our society and consumer behavior. And that's huge. The consumer in all of this obviously is if we didn't have consumers, we don't have advertising, we don't have TV stations and out of home. So consumer behavior is key, and trying to gauge, you know, consumer behavior and predict consumer behavior at the moment is very difficult. And there's lots of research coming out, or has been published over the last number of months, that has fairly accurately, I think, described it. But, you know, market research and crystal ball gazing don't necessarily, you know, sit comfortably together. And so there's a lot of unknowns out there, you know.
But it's a bit more positive than it is. I'll share the results of the poll. I'll share the results of the poll in a minute. Siobhan, does that sit with you fairly briefly? About another 8 minutes.
I think media owners should look forward to Q4 with as much optimism and confidence as they can muster. I'd like to see less of the language of fear coming out of government, because I don't think that bodes well for consumer confidence. And, you know, while obviously COVID-19 is here, as a society, as an economy, we have to learn to live with it. And, you know, it's enough, you know, they talk about that damage that has been done to the health of the economy, well, or to the health of the people. Well, untold damage has been done to the health of the economy. And we now have to, in the same way we have a NEFIT, you know, why don't we have an equivalent for the economy, you know, for the economic needs of the country going forward? And so less of the language of fear from government and confidence and optimism from media owners and advertisers.
Geoff, Lyons?
Yeah, look, whilst I'm enjoying my management role, I'm a marketer at heart. So I think absolute focus on the customer. You got to stick the customer in the center of your business. Focus on the data, on the insights. At the end of the day, we're going to be living with COVID. So being real, being relevant, but ultimately trying to decipher what way your customer is going to move. We're going to live, we're going to eat products, we're going to watch TV, we're going to buy magazines, we're going to get shampoo, change our cars, etc., get mortgages. But I think that focus on the customer is really, really important. Communication, absolutely crucial on every side of your business, from your employees to your customers, to all your stakeholders. Stay relevant, real, critically wash your hands and wear a mask.
Ian Byrne, more positive. Q4.
Yeah, no, for me, definitely going into the back end of this year, it's more positive than certainly anywhere we've been here in Q2. I think as a broader community, we actually came together really well in March, April, May to actually get ourselves sorted out, place ourselves in a really strong position. When you look at our stats now, yes, there's a little bit of creep up, but I think we have good people both in government and the private sector that can actually help us manage that. I think we do need to be conscious of a level of anxiousness and potential fake news that might actually float around at this period of time. But from a business perspective, we are investing heavily in our content mix for the end of the year, with a view that things will get better, and that we are seeing this as an opportunity to make some big changes to our business now we actually go to the market in 2021. So all outside.
Okay. Well, in answer to the question about how positive you feel about the future of advertising employment in 2020, 53% said fairly and 5% said hugely. So there's actually very optimistic about that. And secondly, would you prefer to work from home rather than return to the office? Home, please, 63%. Can't wait to get back to the office, 37%. I'll share those there so you can have a look at those. Interesting stuff, lads. People want to work from home, and they're also fairly confident. I mean, if you look at the figures, 42% think advertising would be the same as, or maybe a bit worse. So, interesting stuff.
I have to say,
all right.
I like working from home for certain things, but I miss interacting with people on a daily basis, and I think people, again, that balance point, got to hit that balance for later on this year.
Ian, you'd swear we worked together at some point. I would think the exact same thing.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much, Siobhan. Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you very much, Geoff. And a pleasure for everybody to keep watching, and we appreciate that very much indeed. Hopefully, Jack and Siobhan will be back in a fortnight, because we do this every 2 weeks. So see you next Wednesday week. And now, as cool people that we are, just casually wave. All right. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.